You're probably aware of the fact that you're constantly being followed. Companies like Google, Facebook, but also lots of smaller ones, are constantly trying to get to know you as well as they can. Because they care about you. No, obviously not that, it's because they want to sell your data to make money. That's how it works. And maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you're one of those people who says, I don't have anything to hide, so if Mark Zuckerberg wants to know what I had for lunch yesterday, I'm good with that. However you feel about it, your personal data is one of the most valuable resources of today's world. But you're not the one profiting from that. And there's lots of other reasons why you should care about privacy, but I'll save that for another video. Here I just want to talk about some easy ways that you can use to take back control of the digital traces that you leave behind. Alright, so first of all, stop using Google as a search engine. They remember everything you search for and more. And the data they have about you says more about you than you might think. Use DuckDuckGo instead. DuckDuckGo is a privacy-friendly search engine. It doesn't track you, doesn't use any data about you for advertisements. Of course, they do need to make money, so they do have advertisements, but these are just based on, for example, the search query that you just entered. There's also a Maps function which runs on Apple Maps, which is much more privacy friendly than Google Maps, obviously. And you can search for images and videos just as easy as you do with Google. If you're using Chrome, this is how to set DuckDuckGo as your default search engine. Go into your preferences, click Search Engine, and then just change it to DuckDuckGo. Make sure you do this on your phone as well. For iPhones, it's Settings, then Safari, and then Search Engine. Secondly, hide from tracking. When you're browsing the web, there are loads of hidden trackers that can see what you're doing, when you're doing it, where you're doing it, and for how long you're staying there. And one way to decrease this is by not accepting cookies. Most websites nowadays have made it relatively easy for users to only allow the most strictly necessary cookies. But often you still have to consciously look for that option. Often you can click on more options, after which you get a bunch of boxes that you can choose to tick or not. Just only select the ones that are required to make sure the website works, and the rest you can leave off. The design of these notifications is made to look like accepting all cookies is your only option. But it's good to remember that you do have a choice. Now, if you want to completely block all hidden trackers, there's an even easier thing you can do. DuckDuckGo has developed an extension called Privacy Essentials that just blocks all website trackers. It's very easy, very useful. I'll put the link to that in the description as well. The third tip I have for you guys is opt out of the Google Analytics program. Google Analytics is a service that Google offers to websites so they can get insight into the website traffic. But this data is, of course, before it's shared with the website, shared with Google. And this tool is used by so many websites that it makes Google some sort of all-knowing internet watchdog. But luckily there's a way to opt out of this. If you install the Google Analytics opt-out browser extension, no information is sent to Google Analytics. You can find the link to install it in the description. Now, this fourth tip I have for you may seem somewhat more invasive than the other ones. It may impact your life a little bit more, but bear with me here. Delete social media apps from your smartphone. All of these free apps are constantly gathering massive amounts of data about you, not just when you're using the app itself, but also across other apps and websites you visit. Of course, it may not be so easy to just stop using Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat altogether. But if you want to limit your social media consumption, this is a good way to start. And if you're, for example, barely using Facebook anymore, but the app is still on your phone, it's definitely a good idea to just delete it. Now, if you have an iPhone, there's some good news. Apple will soon be giving you the possibility to opt out of tracking. Probably this will come with iOS 14.5. Until then, or if you don't have an iPhone, you should just assume that free apps are tracking everything you do on your device, including payment info and sensitive information. It's really, it's that simple. 5. Turn off location services. On many devices it's turned on by default so that Google, Facebook and Amazon, but also the government, can determine your exact location at all times. However, in most cases you can just give certain apps or programs the permission to know your location. And that's a good thing to do, so you don't just send your coordinates out into the world all the time. 6. Fill out less information on your social media profiles. This may seem obvious, but a few weeks back I looked at my Facebook profile and a lot more information was publicly available than I had thought. Especially for social media that you don't really use anymore, it may be worth going over the things that you share with people. Or if you're signing up for a new service, make sure you only fill out the information that is required to use the service. And if they don't need your phone number or a birth date, don't just give it to them. Now, if it is required to fill out a lot of personal information to use a service or app, it may be worth asking yourself, what do I really get from using this app? Will this new service improve my life in any way? And if the answer is not an obvious yes, consider the fact that there will be a company profiting from the fact that you're sharing this information with them. Many companies are profiting too easily from the fact that people don't know what is done with their personal information. So as we've seen, more often than not, privacy is presented as a possibility rather than as the default. And that's not an accident. Choosing the easiest option means, in most cases, that you're sharing the highest amount of data. I hope this video has made you somewhat more aware of this trap. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.